This is the 11th episode of the Running My Mouth podcast. I am your tired host, Arin, and allow me to run my mouth for a little bit. So, a little behind the scenes, it's Monday. And usually, back when I had what was it? Not me forgetting my own podcast name, the Not Just Arin podcast, we would usually record on Thursdays. And I was going to keep that recording schedule because, it just worked out really well for me. But I don't think I have in like the last maybe 4 episodes. And usually I kind of record them on the weekend, which is not something that I want to do because, I want to not have to worry about editing stuff on the weekend, which is weird considering, I don't know, maybe it's not weird considering that editing is something that I do for 8 hours a day I'm not editing for 8 hours a day at my job, but it's what I do on a day-to-day basis, and yet I don't want to have to come home and do it at the same time, strangely. But anyways, I usually record these on Thursdays, and then I morph to recording them on the weekend. But this weekend, I was busy because I was making a video for my main channel, which is definitely out because as I'm recording it, it's out. So if you're watching this, go watch the new video that I have on my main channel. It's called A Metal Band, a Tornado, and Me. And honestly, I had a great time making it. I feel like for maybe the last few videos on my channel, not including my Animal Crossing one, because obviously that wouldn't really fit in, the videos that I've made on my channel have been kind of serious and kind of depressing, like my anti-SJW era and lol cows and stuff like that. And, once upon a time on the It's Just Arin YouTube channel, we used to have a silly goose time. And honestly, I want to go back to having a silly goose time because that was great. That was great and it was fun. And this video that I'm putting out now, it's not exactly silly goose in nature. It's more, I don't know, kind of nostalgic, but also not at the same time, weirdly. You'll just have to watch it to find out. I don't want to give away all the details. You just gotta go watch it to find out for yourself. So, yeah, I spent the weekend working on it. I spent, I spent Saturday writing the script for it, which it's weird because I woke up that morning being like, okay, I'm gonna write the script for this video, and then I'm gonna record it, and then on Sunday, I'm gonna edit it, which is not what ended up happening. I spent somehow all day writing the script for that video. I'm gonna sit up because I feel like I'm sitting weird. Okay, that's a little bit better. I spent all day writing the script to that video because I remember starting it like at maybe 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock that morning. And then I looked up when I was done and it was like 9 at night, which was weird because the script itself isn't even that long. I think it's because, even though I had done some research on it like some months ago, I had to like kind of do that research again and like compile all my facts and like try to not get lost on research tangents looking at stuff like the hypothetical tornado wiki, which was so weird. Honestly, okay, I was genuinely like skeeved out when I first found out that there is an entire wiki of people making up devastating storms for, I guess it's like a fun RP type of thing, but at the same time, it's also like genuinely a little strange because like, okay, as someone, I've never been directly affected by a tornado, but I've grown up honestly my entire life with a deep, deep fear of tornadoes because, they're just like, they're real, they're tangible, first of all. It's not like, I don't know, being afraid of the unknown, so like I guess being afraid of the dark or the boogeyman or like ghosts or something like that, which I was also legitimately afraid of when I was a child. I was afraid of ghosts. Just kind of funny because, I don't believe in ghosts anymore. It's real, it's tangible, and it's something, previously I will say this. I think tornado technology has gotten a little bit better because I feel like when I was a kid, you know, comparing tornadoes and hurricanes, it's like tornadoes, they can strike at any moment. You'll never know when they're coming. It can sneak right up on you and you just got to be ready for it. Whereas hurricanes, you know, you see them on the radar like up to a week before they strike. So you can kind of plan around it and like evacuate in time. But a tornado, you know, was not the case. But now you can actually kind of predict tornadoes, not necessarily the tornadoes themselves and like their exact path, but you know, if conditions are right for a tornado. So like, listen, I'm not a meteorologist. I didn't go to meteorology school. So like, I guess air pressure and wind and rain and everything like that. If all those conditions are present, then you can kind of predict if there's going to be a tornado in a specific area. But now it's a little bit easier to know, you know, when a tornado might strike. But still, I feel like you still can't predict it like you can predict a hurricane. And I don't know, my dad, when I was a kid, honestly, he still does this now, but when I was younger, my dad would always watch the Weather Channel, which, strangely, the Weather Channel was something that freaked me out so much as a kid. I hated the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel was the worst. It was just so scary to me because not only, I mean, obviously, there's only so many minutes within the day where you can tell the forecast of like the United States. So obviously they got to fill in their program time with something else. And so they do that with like historical programs about like big terrible storms that happen, which is, you know, my dad watching the Weather Channel all the time is how I learned about the I think it was the 1900 Galveston hurricane that like killed a bunch of people and was like the first, I think, one of the most destructive natural disasters, either in Texas or in the United States. I don't know. My phone, I left it on my desk, so I can't even look it up. But I ended up learning about that, which honestly that was pretty interesting to me. But also, you know, they would play all of the tornado footage that people have compiled like over the years. And, you know, that was always like really freaky to me. Because another thing, oh man, because of this, anytime we would have a tornado drill at school, in elementary school, which is roughly about once a month, I would freak out completely because, I mean, listen, I'm like, when, I don't know when I like stopped being freaked out about tornado sirens and tornado drills. Honestly, I think it might have been when I was like in the 6th grade was when I like finally like got it together, like, okay, this is a drill, nothing's happening, which is kind of late. Cause I mean, I was what, 10 to 11 years old in the 10th grade, which I mean, that's still pretty young, but also I feel like should still be old enough to know when a drill is a drill. But I mean, I figured it out by then, so like, I guess it's fine now. But when I was a kid, you know, cause they would always drill into your head, which I mean, I guess is kind of the point, how, you know, serious tornadoes were. And of course, my dad watching the Weather Channel all the time, and I'd see all these, you know, old videos of people recording tornadoes barreling towards them. And not every time, but a lot of the times when there was a tornado, because I don't know what they do in schools now, because obviously I haven't been in school for like a while, but back in my day, when there was a tornado drill, you'd have to go out into the hallway. It was either the hallway or the bathroom of my elementary school, and we would have to take a textbook. I don't have anything to demonstrate this with. I'm going to take this book that's on. It's right here. It's not big enough, and it's not a hardcover book, but basically we take like our history textbook or something, and we'd open it up and you'd have to like bend down in your waist and put the book specifically. By the way, if you're listening to the audio only version of this, I'm going to try to describe this as best as I can, but if you're watching or listening to the audio only version, you're only getting half the story. Basically, you take a book, kind of hunch down like into your lap, basically bending over because you're sitting down cross-legged on the floor. And they would always make a point to tell you to put the book over your neck and not your head. I don't know if that's still a protocol in like schools and stuff or what. But I do remember when I did end up going to college, I'm coincidentally wearing the shirt today, we did have a number of, they weren't even drills. We would have tornado alerts, like multiple ones when I was there. And the first floor of my dorm was like, because it was newer, it was like an actual like tornado shelter. And I remember on a few occasions, a lot of times, which is really wacky to me, like I get it, sometimes you just can't be bothered, but when we would have these tornado alerts and like be advised by the school to like get to the lowest level of a building, not everyone would do it. It was kind of crazy. And I lived on the third floor, so I wasn't about to take any chances. You know, if I looked outside and it was like a little dark and a little stormy, I was going down to the first floor. But also a lot of the times these happened like in the middle, not the middle of the night, but definitely around my bedtime. I'll say that much. So like I remember one time it happened like early morning, another time was like late at night, and I just kind of have to, you know, suck it up and go downstairs in my pajamas, which was, you know, not super pleasant, and try to, I don't think I ever tried to sleep, but, you know, just try to relax a little bit. Because, you know, even as an adult, being in a tornadic situation, it's a little freaky. Um, but yeah, when I was in elementary school during tornado drills, I would cry, I'd freak out. And I remember one specific instance, my teacher, who was very annoyed, probably, you know, deservedly so, she like took me by the hand and took me to like the front door of the school and pointed out, and it's like, look, there's no clouds outside, it's not raining, stop crying. So, you know, but tornado sirens just sound so scary, you know, they just sound terrifying. And I just it's just really scary when it happens. What can I say? I'm sure most people share my feelings, but for a very long time, I mean, even up until now, I have been and remain to be afraid of natural disasters, mostly tornadoes. Hurricanes, I feel like I've never had to endure like a serious hurricane. Like I was alive during Hurricane Katrina, but I was living in Alabama at the time. And I mean, I was living in Alabama for most of my life, so I don't know why I said at the time like that. But I was living in Alabama, and as far as I remember, it never got us that bad. And I remember asking my mom about it at some point. I can't remember why I asked her about it. It was recently, you know, about the time that Hurricane Katrina came. She was like, Hurricane Katrina didn't affect us. What you're remembering is Hurricane Ivan. And Hurricane Ivan struck the year previous. It was in 2004. And I remember our power was out for, honestly, it felt like more than a week. Maybe a week and a half, something like that. But I can't remember what time of the year it was. I could look it up, but again, my phone is over there. So if you remember when Hurricane Ivan happened, then shout out to you, I guess. But it was okay. It was in 2004. I mean, it was during hurricane season, so that gives you a little range. But I remember our lights were off for a while, and we had to use candles and flashlights. And I remember, this is a weird memory to have, but I remember my brother told me that if we pointed flashlights at the windows that we'd get arrested. So it's a weird thing to lie about. Because who's gonna arrest? Listen, I was 4 when this happened, so like the logic was not there. But I was gonna say, like, who's out here arresting 4-year-olds? But people are out here arresting 5th graders. So, you know, it's not really that outside of the realm of possibility, you know? So, but still, like, anyway. And we also had to eat those MREs that came, like, in the brown bag that you had to, like, heat up in the bag. And I can't remember why my dad even had those, but he had quite a few of those, and we ate some of them. I don't know if we had to eat them necessarily, because in the house we were living in at the time, our stove was gas, and I believe the gas was still working. The igniter wasn't, obviously, but both my parents are smokers, so they always have lighters, so that wasn't really an issue. But yeah, that was an interesting little memory. Now, I will say, there was a time when I was living in my last apartment, and there was like a tornado warning that happened. And apparently it wasn't a tornado. I think it was just like a lot of wind. I don't think there's ever like a funnel or anything like that, but it was pretty serious. But a tornado passed pretty closely to where I was living at the time. I want to say that was it was March of last year. That's when it happened. And I was surprisingly zen during the whole thing. But again, to me it was just kind of raining and maybe a little windy. I wasn't all that concerned about it. Maybe I should have been a little bit more concerned. I don't know. But yeah, that happened. And then of course there's the tornado in Selma that was this January, it was January 12th. And it's been quite a while since then. Um and I guess I could talk about that a little bit, but that it's been some months now since that happened. I mean 9 months, I guess. Um and I think now finally Memorial Stadium is starting to be rebuilt after all this time. I mean, I knew on some level that it wouldn't happen immediately, but I think now I haven't been back home since like before the tornado happened, so I can't say for any certainty. But according to my mom, it's kind of weird going out in the area where the tornado happened because it's just, where there used to be trees, there aren't, and it's just like a lot of barren land now that all the debris and stuff has been cleared out. And it really did a number on the town. It really did. And I it was a really interesting time for me because obviously I was living here when it happened, but I remember this is when I was working my last job. And when I was working at my last job, I had a lot of free time, and I also had I was the one maintaining the social media. So I had, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram open basically all the time. And I would I would spend a lot of time on Twitter at my last job. Like I would be on Twitter all the time. And so of course I saw Alabama and tornado and Selma specifically go trending on Twitter that time. And so, I click on the trend, and all I see during that time is, first of all, for the probably the majority of people out there who are watching slash listening to this, who don't know, Selma is like geographically very small. So what I saw when I first like clicked on the trend was like some meteorologist somewhere that posted a map, and I can't quite remember what exactly the map was supposed to show, but I see this map and I see a big blue circle basically around the entire city of Selma. And at that point I'm like, okay, so what's happening? I'm like starting to freak out a little bit. And, I think I remember the exact time that it even happened. It was from like 10 to, I don't want to say it happened over like 2 hours, but it was in the morning. So, I was at work and everything like that. And I remember just there was like a 10-minute time frame where, the tornado was actually passing over Selma, where I didn't really know, the exact path or anything like that. And all I could think of was like, oh my gosh, my mom is like, is she getting, torn up by a tornado right now? And obviously I start freaking out at work. I start crying. I have to like, try to hold it together so that people don't notice. And thankfully, it wasn't all that many people in the office to begin with. So it's not like they would have noticed. And I have to, just kind of have to hold it together, but also, I don't know what's going on. I can't tell where the tornado's gone. I don't know. I don't know where it is, For all I know, my mom is dead, essentially. That's what was going through my mind at that time. Is that, my home is destroyed and my mom is dead. Those are the only thoughts that I had. So obviously I start freaking out. But eventually I go outside or yeah, I go outside of my office and I call my mom, and I can't even really start talking because like I'm crying, but she picks up the phone and she tells me she's fine. It's like I was like, okay, well, I guess I gotta go back to work now. After all that happened, after I thought my mom was dead for like 10 minutes, I guess I gotta go back to work. Crazy. But yeah, ended up the tornado itself, and again, Selma is not very large, but the tornado itself ended up being like a mile south of my house. So it was really scary. Like if it had touched down, a mile farther north, my house would have been gone and my mom would have been dead. But it didn't. So, and in fact, nobody died, because something that I learned is that your chances of surviving a tornado are higher if it's during the day, because if it is during the day, then you're awake and you're more likely to see alerts for tornadoes and are more likely to take action because you're awake and you're aware of what's going on, which is why the tornado that happened in the Delta, the Mississippi Delta, back in March was so deadly because it happened overnight. And also, I mean, there's a little bit of back and forth about it with, the people who live in the Delta and like emergency management or whatever, whoever's in charge of tornado sirens. A lot of people said, oop, don't fall. A lot of people said during that night they didn't hear any sirens. So they weren't notified that a tornado was like on the way, or that there was like a tornado warning or whatever happens to cause a tornado siren to go off. I actually don't really know what the trigger for it is. I don't know if it's like, tornadoes on the ground or just tornado warning. I don't know. That would be worth looking up. But of course I can't because my phone's over there. So, that was definitely a tough time. Not only that, but seeing, oh my gosh, this was the most annoying part, After learning that my mom was not dead and that my house was not destroyed, just seeing all of these people who have probably never been to Selma, probably didn't even know it existed up until, okay, the people who I have most issue with did know it existed, but only know it existed because they learned about it in history class. And something that really just twisted my tail, to put it very nicely, was all the people being like, oh, you guys, we need to help Selma out because it's so historical. Guys, the history. Guys, the bridge. We gotta help Selma because the bridge. Do you know some people crossed the bridge 60 something years ago? Guys, we gotta help. I'm so sorry to people listening, by the way, but I was just really annoyed by that because, like, yeah, there was a lot of history and stuff, and like, yeah, the bridge is there or whatever, but people live there. People live there currently, in current year 2023. People live there now, and we should help them because people live there, not because of the history. Or we could do both. And that that drove me up a wall, just seeing like, oh, you guys, Martin Luther King, and not, all 17,000 people who are living there right now. It's just annoying. Hearing people speak on Selma. It's so annoying, Anyway, man, what a tangent to be on. All that to say is that that certainly didn't help with my fear of natural disasters, because I have literally had nightmares about that very thing happening, like a tornado. Like, I've had so many tornado-based nightmares. It's not even funny, really. Like, I have these dreams, well, I guess they're nightmares, like I've said, where, I'm just like chilling in my house and all of a sudden there's like a big tornado that comes that destroys everything, and it's like really, really scary. And my literal nightmares were realized on that day. So yeah, all that to say is that didn't really help with my fear of natural disasters, because again, it's like, other fears that you have, like ghosts. Like, nobody can with any amount of certainty or certainty prove whether or not a ghost is real. But a tornado is like, it's very tangible. It's very real. You can see it. People have seen them. You probably know someone who has been affected by a tornado. Well, okay, I'm going to say that depends very much on where you live, because, the South, like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, sort of Tennessee as well, is known as like the what do you call it, Dixie Alley, because like you have Tornado Alley, which is like centralized in Oklahoma and like those surrounding states, but also you have Dixie Alley because there have been some really bad tornadoes that have come through Alabama, especially like Birmingham and Tuscaloosa. Like, they have been ate up by tornadoes. And honestly, I had, strangely, for some reason, I don't know why, because again, I don't really look up tornado content like that, but I've had like tornado tubers. I don't know what to call them other than, tornado enthusiasts on YouTube, who make videos about tornadoes and stuff like that. The 10 most powerful tornadoes or whatever. But something that I learned is that, it feels a little obvious to me now. But before I learned it, it didn't really occur to me that much. But if you go to certain parts in Alabama, specifically like the Tuscaloosa to Birmingham, I guess, corridor, you can see the path of destruction for some tornadoes on Google Maps. Like, you'll be, it's a little hard to see right off. It's not like super obvious, but if you look for it, you can find it. Basically just like a line in, a patch of like forest where there's just like no trees, and that's where a tornado struck, And I was talking to one of my coworkers. Words. I was talking to one of my coworkers one day, and for some reason we were looking at each other's high schools, and I saw that the Google Street View for Selma has been updated. I think it got updated in February or March, and you can see all of the destruction, which is so crazy because who knows when the next time they're gonna update it is, Because there's some places around here, even around in Jackson, where if you take a wrong turn on a street, you'll be transported back to 2006, which is so crazy to me for Google Street View because, I mean, obviously it is a little bit logistically difficult to go to every single road in the entire not even the entire United States, the entire world, hello, and like try to accurately have, updated street views for each, I guess, street, like in the entire world, aside from places where you're not allowed to be, which, I mean, there's still a Google Street View in like North Korea, so, but there are sometimes, if you go out to, I don't know, it doesn't even have to necessarily be a rural area. It could be like just like a totally normal street. Like I was back when I was moving out of my last apartment, I obviously like to go on Google Street View to see what the outside of these apartments actually looks like. And I was looking at one, and it was kind of weird because on one angle it's like from 2022 or 2021 or something like that, so mostly updated. But you click in one direction and it takes you back to like 2009, which is so wild and wacky how you can basically go back in time on Google Street View. I honestly think it's pretty cool. Um, if you're on like a not major road in like probably any city, you can just be transported from 2023 to like 2010 or something like that, which is so wild, but also so cool. But anyways, I've been talking for a surprising amount of time about tornadoes. I'm fighting with this mic stand today because I just can't get it to stay still. Like, geez. And if I've got to adjust it at some point, but I just like if I put it up too high, then it's gonna tip over because the little tripod legs aren't oriented correctly, and I don't really feel like getting up to move it. But I just have my foot on it to make sure it doesn't tip over, but at the same time it like keeps, maybe because I keep touching it, it keeps moving. So let me just like stop touching it. Actually, that might help. But yeah, that's new video. Go watch it. It's great. It's a great time. It's a fun time. I saw Barbie in theaters finally long after it came out. When did I even see it? That was like 2 weekends ago, actually. When did I see it? It wasn't last week. It wasn't this last weekend, and it wasn't like the last weekend either. It was some time ago. I'll say that much. But I finally saw it because it was released in IMAX, and we have one singular IMAX screen in the entire state of Mississippi, and it's in Madison. And so anytime I want to see an IMAX movie, I have to drive all the way up to Madison, which, whatever. But anyway, saw Barbie in IMAX. Honestly, I thought it was fine. I thought it was kind of just okay, actually. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I had built Oppenheimer up in my head for, like, since it was announced, that I don't know, I feel like I left more, or I felt more impacted by it. Because, it is just visually, like, so stunning. Story-wise, also really interesting. I saw it in IMAX twice in, like, one weekend, which is crazy. I spent $40 seeing one movie over one weekend. That was a bit much. But Barbie, I thought, okay, no, I gotta talk about it because I just remember it now. So, okay, I have to say this. I was not a Barbie kid growing up. In fact, I hated playing with dolls growing up. Anytime I was like really young and didn't really have a personality yet, so people would just buy me things they think girls would like, I would get a lot of dolls. And I freaking hated dolls because dolls, they're not fun. I always wanted boys' toys growing up, like Nerf guns and cars, like RC cars and stuff like that. I loved boys' toys growing up. I hated dolls. They just seemed so boring. It's like, ugh, I would be so annoyed anytime I would get a doll. And thankfully, after some point, people learned not to get Arin dolls anymore. My thing was stuffed animals. I want to say, I remember at one point when I was a kid, I counted them all. I think I had 21 or 22 stuffed animals, and they all had names, they all had families, and they all had, well, they didn't all have stories, but they all had names and families. Um, and then when I got my dog, Rio, in 2009, he destroyed legitimately a lot of them when he was a puppy because he just got into everything. Anything that existed, he would chew on it, including me. I got bitten and scratched by him so much when I was a kid. Obviously, he chilled out after a while, but man, he loved destroying things. Goodness gracious. But anyways, I had a lot of stuffed animals when I was a kid, but in 2007, Mattel released a dog for Barbie, and its name was Tanner. And I was obsessed with that freaking dog. And it was so weird too, because my mom was utterly perplexed by it because she saw the commercials too, because I was asking about it so much. And she was like, "Why do you want a dog?" I'm not going to say exactly what she said, of course, but "Why do you want a dog that poops?" And I was like, "Mom, it's a dog. I just want it. I just want it. I can feed it. I can take care of it. And, okay, it comes with a Barbie. I don't care about the Barbie. I just want Tanner." And lo and behold, my mom got me Tanner, and I was so ecstatic. Oh my god, I freaking loved that little pooping dog. Oh my god, it was just bliss for me. And I think I had the brown one, so I got a little black Barbie with it, but I didn't really play with the Barbie all that much. In fact, I wasn't a Barbie person, and I wasn't really into dolls, but for some reason, Polly Pocket worked on me. I love Polly Pockets. I had about 3 of them. I had just like a regular one, like one of the earlier ones with like the weird rubbery clothes. And I had one that came with like a camper van. No, I had the first one was the regular one with the weird rubbery clothes, and she had like blonde hair, I think. My second one was like a limo. Dang it, I wish I had okay, I gotta get my phone because I wanna look this up. So I had the Polly Pocket that had a limo. It was like a limo, and at this point I think they had moved away from the weird rubbery clothes to ones that were like kind of magnetic. So let's see, Polly Pocket limo. Actually, hold on. No, that's not it. That's a new one. 2000s. Let's see. Okay, I think this is the one. Polly Pocket Fashion Limousine. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, this is the one. Okay, I'm going to try to hold it up so that you guys can see it. But yeah, that is the exact one that I had. Is this, yeah, from 2005. Yeah, this little strangely colored limo. And this one had the magnetic clothes. So basically, you would put Polly Pocket like in a little car seat or something, and then you would roll the car forward, I think, and then it would like slide her through and like change her clothes. Oh yeah. Was this it? I think so. But I can't remember if these were also like the weird rubbery ones or were they like the regular like fabric ones. But anyways, I had that, and then I'm going to look up, it was like a camper van. So Polly Pocket camper van 2000s. And I remember that one being relatively new. Well, not new. I remember I got it for Christmas that year. That's all I can remember. But I can't, was it this? Yeah, it was a limo that converted into like gosh, what do you call it? I don't know, like a 3-story house or something, and it had a freaking elevator in it. Man, this thing was so dope. This, I think, was the exact one that I had as well. Yeah, that was the one. And it had like a bunch of like little accessories that came with it, like a little gosh, what do you call it? Like a mug or something. And I remember one of the Polly Pocket sets that I had came with like, I think it was supposed to be like a little rubber duck. And I still have that rubber duck, by the way. It wasn't rubber, it was like really tiny and like hard plastic. But I still have it. I still remember where it is. It's in my bedroom back home, and it's on the top, like the very top of my bookshelf. And the fact that I remember that is so crazy. And like, yeah, it's still there. I still have it for some reason. I don't know why I do, but I still do. But anyways, I was a Polly Pocket kid, but I had Tanner growing up. And when I saw Tanner in Weird Barbie's house, I was so excited. Like, I was elated. Oh my God. It was like, this is for me, you know? Like, this was made specifically for me, someone who's obsessed with Tanner as a kid. And another memory that I have is that there was a product recall, specifically with the Tanner set, because his little food slash poop was metallic, because you had your Barbie had a like poop scoop that was like, it had a little magnet on it so that she could pick up the poop and then put it back in the food box, which is really weird. Honestly, okay, it was objectively weird as a concept, but I didn't care. I just wanted the dog. Um and I think the paint on the little magnetic poop slash food was lead paint, so they had to recall it. I remember seeing that on the like afternoon news when I was a kid, and like breaking down, just being inconsolable. I boxed it back up because I still had the box for some reason, and I like put it on the top shelf of my closet when I guess the shelf that I could reach, because I definitely couldn't reach the top shelf. Hello, I was 7 years old and much shorter than I am now. And put it like up on a high shelf. Can I tighten this? Is that gonna work? Okay. Put it up on a high shelf, and my mom saw me like crying, just like absolutely freaking out because it had gotten recalled. And she was like, "Arin, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "The Tanner was recalled. I can't play with it anymore." And she was like, "No, Arin, that doesn't mean you can't play with it anymore. Just don't eat the poop. Just don't eat the poop." And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And I kept playing with my Tanner. But eventually we moved, and I don't think my Tanner got lost in the move, but I think it might have been another casualty of my dog, who was a puppy at the time, because we moved in 2008, and we got him not long after we had moved, and he chewed up a lot of my toys. He chewed up my Polly Pockets. He chewed up my stuffed animals, my beloved stuffed animals. And I remember when that happened, I was of course crying as a child. I was 9 at this time, and I was sort of kind of growing out of playing with stuffed animals, but obviously they still had a lot of significance to me. They were my beloved stuffed animals. And my parents obviously saw this and looked at the destruction that Rio had created. And they were like, I don't know why they said this, by the way. That was such a weird question to ask me, because why would I have final say in that? And they asked me, like, well, do you want to give Rio away? And I was like, no, he's just a puppy. That's what puppies do. They chew on things. Like, even I knew that at the time. So, I think I had to get rid of a good deal of my stuffed animals that he had destroyed. And I think the rest, I'm trying to remember. We ended up moving not long after we moved into that house for reasons I'm still not sure about. And all of my stuffed animals went into a box, and I do not know where they are, present day, which is kind of sad. I would like to know where they are, even though most of them were destroyed. Some of them were fine, and the ones that were fine were put into a box, and I don't think, by the time we moved for the third time, I ever unpacked them. So they probably got thrown out, which is kind of sad to think about. I would have liked to have them. Some of them I've had since I was like a kid, like a really little kid. Like, I want to have them, but I don't know where they are, and I don't think they're in our attic. Anyway, that got sad. Anyways, I was really excited. All that to say is that I was really excited to see that Tanner made it into the movie. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. But aside from that, it was like, honestly, I think that the message of Barbie, which is, I don't know. I don't know if I can articulate it presently, but I think the message might have been a little bit too surface level for my liking, which I mean, it's a Barbie movie. Also, when I went to see it, which I mean, at this point, it's been months since it's been out, but there's a lady in front of me with like her two young kids, which like, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily family friendly, and not to be like the, morality police, but I don't think Barbie is for the babies. There are Barbie movies that are for kids, but the Greta Gerwig Barbie, I would not let your second grader watch it. Maybe not that I wouldn't let them, cuz I mean it's not like it's anything egregious. I think it's just a lot of stuff that they wouldn't get, like genuinely wouldn't get. Like I don't think they're going to latch on to the existentialism of the movie very well. So like there's stuff that, will appeal to them, like all the colors and the dancing and the songs and stuff like that and the comedy. Um but I don't think there's gonna be some things that they don't get. Like I remember there was one joke, and I can't remember what the joke was. Oh man, it was I don't know. It was a joke that I like laughed out loud to, and the children that were sitting in front of me were dead silent. So there's some stuff that they're just not gonna get, which is not necessarily like a bad thing. It's like there's some whack jobs out there like, how am I going to explain periods to my 7-year-old daughter? It's impossible. Which, like, it shouldn't be, first of all, but, it's really not that hard to explain. Because, like, at the very end of the movie, Barbie, she's like, I guess she's a human now. She got, like, transubstantiated into being a person. Um, and so she's, like, having her first gynecologist appointment. And I think some people are like, how am I going to explain that to my precious little child? And it's like, they're gonna have to go at some point anyway, so you might as well tell them. It's like it's really not that complicated. It's for reproductive health, which I guess those kinds of people also wouldn't want to explain what reproduction is to their very young children. So man, I don't know, I'm not a parent, I will never be a parent, and I will never have to navigate any of that, hopefully. So I really don't have to worry about these things. But as far as the overall movie itself, I did remember reading some people thinking that the Ken song was like a little bit too long, and I don't know, I thought it was fine. I thought it was just fine. The Kens go from fighting each other to like in masculine unity or whatever, which gave the Barbies enough time to like exact their plan of, I can't even remember most of that movie. Honestly, the Barbie didn't make that much of an impression on me. I'll say that much. It was a fine movie. I was entertained. I very much liked seeing Tanner make an appearance. But aside from that, it's interesting to see Rob Brydon. I believe he was Sugar Daddy Ken. I think he was. I'm not 100% on that. It looked like him. And so, as someone who is a fan of like a lot of British panel shows, it was fun to see him there being like, oh, I know that guy. He does what I like to you. I'm gonna double check to make sure that was him. So I don't think it was. Maybe it was. It was a small cameo. Let's see. He was in, yep, he was Sugar Daddy Ken. I knew that was him. Yeah, so that was fun. Um, I do like, however, that, for such a phenomenon that kind of happened on accident, maybe not on accident necessarily, but definitely unintentionally, the fact that thematically, both Barbie and Oppenheimer were very similar was really surprising to me, because I thought, oh, cute, fun, pink movie and movie about the atom bomb, that juxtaposition was already pretty funny, I guess. But they are both about the same things, but two sides of the same coin, I think. Because, and I mean, I'm pretty sure this point has been made, because again, this movie has been out for quite some time now. But you have Oppenheimer, right? Which is about the creation of the atomic bomb. And it's about the creation of something that ended up doing, a lot of, again, really tangible harm. The creation of something that aids in destruction. And, Barbie is also kind of about that, but in a different way. In that, the Barbies, they all feel like, especially, the, what do you call her? Stereotypical Barbie, Margot Robbie's character. She feels like, oh, Barbie was created to solve feminism or something like that. I don't know, to fix sexism, basically. But seeing that it kind of had almost the opposite effect on society. So, like, creation that was supposed to do good, but ended up maybe not necessarily doing bad, but not doing as good as it was supposed to. And, the existentialism that surrounds creation. Oppenheimer, or I guess the character of Oppenheimer. I don't know if the real man felt this way. Because again, I said it in my podcast episode where I talk about seeing Oppenheimer, but I think that movie was very, very favorable to that man who, by some accounts, was not super great. He wasn't like the worst, but he wasn't like an old chum like he's portrayed in the movie. But Oppenheimer is haunted by his creation, essentially. He goes from being, a normal, mostly normal physics guy to being essentially a shell of a man, and Barbie goes from being, someone who has been convinced that her existence and her creation was beneficial, but realizing that, that's not the case. So, honestly, I think the juxtaposition works really well. And honestly, now that I have actually seen the movie and know more about what it's about, I kind of wish I would have seen, had a Barbie Oppenheimer double feature, because that would have been pretty great, actually. And I didn't wear pink to go see it because I don't own any. Well, that's not true. I own one pink garment. It is a hot pink, what do you call it? Sweatshirt dress that I got from H&M back when I was in college. And I mean, it's far too hot to wear it, so I didn't wear it. But I have my watch band, which is pink, so I guess that technically counts. I don't know. But now that's, breast cancer awareness, my job is, I don't know if this has been like set in stone yet, but at some point I think there's going to be a day where we're all going to be encouraged to wear pink for a good cause, of course. But I don't really own very many pink garments or anything that's like 100% pink. I have that sweatshirt, which I don't know. It is getting a bit cooler, but I don't know if it's cold enough for me to wear that. And yeah. But I'm going through like a mental list of all the stuff that I own, and I don't have anything that's like just like straight up pink. Like, I have some stuff that has like, I guess, pink flowers in it, but it's very subtle and subdued. And I have my Careful Gaze shirt, which is, I mean, that's black and pink. So I guess whenever we have the pink day at work, I'll just have to do my makeup. I don't know. It'll be really fun, though. It'll be really fun. I don't have any pink lipstick because I think I put on pink lipstick once in high school and decided that I looked like Nicki Minaj in not a good way. And so I decided to never wear pink lipstick again. I think you should be able to make pink work with just about any skin tone. It's just that I think the color of pink that I had was just clashing with my skin. Like, it was like making me look ashy. I think that was the thing. And I feel like, now that the makeup girlies have learned color theory, I could probably find a pink that works well for me, but just bright lipstick at all is just really not the vibe. The brightest that I'll go is like a true red, because I mean, it looks good on basically anybody, but anything brighter than that is like a no ma'am, like no. Yeah. So that was Barbie. We're talking about Barbie and we're talking about tornadoes. What else is there to talk about? I feel like I had like a list of topics in my head. Now that I'm actually sitting down to record it, I have forgotten all of them. So that's totally cool. It's October. It's the spooky month. Oh no, I did have something else I wanted to talk about. Not related to October or being the spooky month. I will talk about that a little bit though. But apparently my new workplace takes Halloween very seriously. So I guess I have to start planning my costume. I'm not really going to go all out. I'm not going to be Barbie, and I'm not going to be Oppenheimer because, like, that would involve getting and tailoring a suit, which I'm not about to spend the money on that. Like, I would slay in, like, a little 19, well, okay, I was going to say 1920s, but no, wrong era. Like, 50s style suit. Like, I would look good in one, but it would cost a lot of money for me to get one. To wear it on one day and never again, I think not. And again, like I said, I don't have enough pink garments to be. I could be goth Barbie. I don't even have enough goth type garments to do that. Gosh, I don't know. And also, if I am, will people get that I'm like goth Barbie? No, they won't. So I don't want to do anything where I have to explain anything. Honestly, I thought about finding a plumb bob headband on Etsy and calling it a day. Just wearing my normal clothes, putting the headband on, and saying like, "I'm a sim," and we're just gonna keep it moving. Honestly, if I could find one, ooh, I do kind of want to do that though. If I could find one that has an LED in it where I can change the colors, that would be pretty dope. Actually, I hope. Ooh, I really want to find one like that now, actually. That would be really fun. I mean, it's simple but effective. And surprisingly, despite my love for The Sims, I've never been ow, I keep biting my tongue. I've never been a sim for Halloween because, I mean, I don't really celebrate Halloween like that. I have been trick-or-treating since I was in elementary school. And even when I was in elementary school, we weren't allowed to go out in the neighborhood. We went to our local mall to trick or treat. And all of the people like working at the stores in the mall will like give us candy and all that. And one year I actually won a costume contest, and the prize was $25. I think, yeah, I think it was $25. And I was so excited to finally win something because, I am not someone who is frequently winning things. And my mom, well, I mean, I was like, what, 7 or 8? No, not even that. 5 or 6 when I won that costume contest. So, like, when am I going to spend $25 on? Freaking chocolate? Probably. But my mom took it and she bought new shoes for me instead. So, what can you do? But yeah, I haven't engaged in Halloween activities in a very long time because, I mean, I don't know. Like, I like the idea of Halloween. It's just not something that I do. But now that I work somewhere where they take Halloween seriously, and Halloween is during the week, I think it's on a Tuesday or something, I can kind of like go all out, but I'm still probably not going to. I'm probably going to find a light up headband and buy it and just say I'm a sim. And yeah. It's a little boring, I'm not gonna lie, because a lot of times, a lot of Sims costumes, it's either the headband or the nude mosaic, which I'm not about to show up to work in like a skin colored bodysuit. So that's not about to happen. And also, I feel like that involves crafting. I probably gotta get some like that stiff poster board and like try to print out like a giant mosaic, which I don't listen, I appreciate crafting, but it was a lot easier back when my house was already full of things that I could use to craft. Like, my mom kept supplies in our house, like construction paper, hot glue guns, scissors, markers of all kinds, crayons, stuff like that. I would never have to worry about trying to get those because my mom just had them already. But now, like, that I'm basically starting from square one in all of my things that I own, I would have to go out and like buy craft supplies that I'm never going to use again. So I'm not really too keen on trying to do that. But a light up plumb bob headband, I think I could do. I think I can manage that one. And honestly, I've also, I don't know why I've just never tried to look for them because you can probably find them on Etsy. You can find just about anything on Etsy, but I really want some plumb bob earrings. It'd just be really cute. I really would like some. And they're probably, $10 on Etsy. So I don't even know. I'm like pretending that it's so hard to find plumb bob earrings. But anyways, yeah, those might be my Halloween plans. Just being a sim and wearing my normal clothes. So listen, I do know some Simlish, okay, because it's not just gibberish, people. There's a system to it, all right? Honestly, it's apparently Minion language is also kind of complex like that, but I'm not a 50-year-old wine mom, so I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but Simlish, I know some Simlish, okay? I'm not gonna do that at work, though. I like being seen as someone who is cool and interesting. So, no. But yeah, those are my Halloween plans. I'm going as a sim probably if I end up doing anything. Um, but what else? Oh, the thing that I actually wanted to talk about is that I sort of started drawing again. Like it's a really weird thing to say, or I guess to think about because, you know, I was drawing like every day for like a while. Like from, let's say, I don't know, junior year maybe of high school all the way up until maybe the end of college. I was like consistently like drawing a lot and I was like really into it. I got pretty good. I won't say I got pretty good, not to give myself a big head or whatever, but I advanced my skills pretty quickly over a very short amount of time. And, it was something that I enjoyed doing. It was something that gave me joy. And, for some reason, like in the last year, I think it might have been after I moved here, I just kind of stopped drawing. Like, one day I put my pen down and I just never picked it back up. And that was just kind of what happened, which is really strange because nothing, there was nothing to really cause me to be really all of a sudden just like disinterested in it, because that's kind of what happened. Because anytime, I would go, sit down at my desk and like try to draw something, I would start and then it would just feel really difficult for some reason. Like it would feel like too much work to try to finish it, and I just wouldn't. And I think maybe also because I have, as an artiste, been very online with my art, posting basically everything I drew online and following a lot of kind of, I guess, online trends in digital art at the time. I think that maybe I can't really say if that contributed to it though, but somewhere along the lines, art and drawing just became not great to me and I stopped doing it. But this past Friday, I was on my way home from work and nothing even really happened specifically that day to get me like really pumped about it for some reason, but I remember thinking as I was on my way home from work, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna plug my tablet back in, I'm gonna draw something. And my drawing tablet that I have, which is an XP Pen Artist 13.3 Pro, maybe. I got it for Christmas a few years ago. I want to say 2020, but maybe it was 2019. I can't remember, but I'm trying to remember. I think it might have been 2019. Yeah, 2019, to replace my very old, very large Huion tablet that I had. And for like the last year, probably, I don't know, I don't want to say year and a half because I haven't been living here a year and a half, but it feels like for the last, maybe I'll say this, the entirety of 2023, it's been sitting unplugged just kind of on top of my PC tower, just like there, and now I finally plugged it back in Friday. I opened up Paint Tool Sci for the first time in like a really long time, and I just started sketching, and it felt really good. And it also felt really good to know that I hadn't, forgotten how to do it, because I don't know if I ever thought that I had in earnest, but, after not doing something for a really long time, like, there is that thought that you might forget how to do it, but I didn't. So that was a really nice feeling. I think, just not pressuring myself to finish things really quickly or, pressure myself to post things online, to share what I've made might help me a little bit as I, kind of try to get back into it. And also just trying new things and not, giving up if I don't know how to do it immediately or if it doesn't look good. Because, for a long time, it didn't look good, but at the same time, I didn't care. So, like, maybe I should just go back to not caring about how things look and, I will liberate my soul and just start drawing again. But I've also gotten the urge to buy a sketchbook and some, decently nice pencils and kind of get back into traditional art, because that is something I haven't done in legitimately a really long time. especially after I got my. Well, I've had drawing tablets for a while because I got an Adesso one. Oh Lord, way back. I want to say 2012, 2013, something like that, a while ago. And it was like really small. The pen was battery powered, and it came with, I remember, it came with Adobe Photoshop Elements, which is like the baby version of Photoshop. And after that, I had I want to say maybe a 10-inch Wacom tablet that these didn't have screens on them, by the way. The first two that I had did not have screens on them. And honestly, they worked just fine. You know, my trusty little Wacom, which I did the stupidest thing ever. I gave that away to my roommate when I was in college because she was like a graphic design major and she didn't have one. And it was like her birthday, and I had like just gotten my new Huion tablet, and for some reason I had bought my Wacom one with me to college, even though I'd had that Huion tablet for like a while, so I don't even know why I brought it with me. But I gave it to her, and she ended up sucking. She ended up being a terrible roommate, and that's probably like the only thing I regret in our entire interactions was me giving her my old my old Wacom tablet. Cause like, why did I do that? There's no reason for me to do that other than trying to be nice, and look where it got me. So yeah, that was kind of lame. I kind of want it back. Not even to like use it, just to have it back. But what can you do? But eventually, a few years ago at this point, I got my XP Pen tablet because the Huion one that I had was just old, clunky. It took up so much space on my desk. It was like a 20-inch tablet, which is like, honestly, an obscene amount for like a screen tablet. It's kind of big, and it was so old that the screen, you would have to angle it a specific way, otherwise the colors would go weird. So like, I don't know, if you had an old like LCD monitor, then you probably know what I'm talking about, where if you skew on an angle a certain way, modern monitors don't have this problem. Like modern TVs and stuff don't have this problem. But it was a pretty old model of a Huion tablet, so it did. And the tablet I have now doesn't have that issue. So I plugged it back in, I wiped it down because it was covered in dust. I opened up Paint Tool SAI and I got to sketching, and it felt really great to be able to do that again. And it was just a sketch, I didn't finish it. But I do want to, try to have a nice finished drawing, colored and everything like that. I did kind of forget my process a little bit, but the actual actions of like the hand movements of drawing is not what I forgot. It was just kind of the my actual process and like what I did, because obviously there's a sketch, but I had a certain way where I'd break down each layer, which I still kind of remember that, and a certain way that I would color and shade things, and the way that I do my line art, because like for a while there I wasn't doing line art. I would, by the way, if you're not in the art space, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. So you're just gonna have to be along for the ride for a little bit. But basically, I would have a sketch, and I would just kind of clean up my sketch a little bit instead of going over it with like fresh lines, because I didn't really like how it looked. But at some point, I went back to doing line art. But I think now I'm just gonna try to clean up my sketches, because I do still like how it looks a little bit better. Because there's a meme going around on art Twitter, which I'm still on, by the way. I've been on art Twitter this whole time. I never stopped. I never, unfollowed these accounts or like moved on to something else. I was always on art Twitter. So I'd, of course, always see the discourse. But there was like a meme going around where, you have the sketch, and the sketch looks so nice and so perfect and so amazing. And then on the other side is like the line art, and it looks janky and weird. And I don't know, it really depends on, yourself as an artist, which route you choose to take. But I think I'm gonna stick, because I know what I was doing. Because I started, before my line art in Paint Tool SAI would just be like regular hard round brush, but then I started doing it with a textured brush. I was experimenting a little bit. I don't know, maybe I do still want to do that. I don't have to like adhere to any rules though. I could just like change up the way that I draw entirely, but it's kind of hard to consciously do that. However, I feel like I should be able to consciously do that, because I remember when I was in the 6th grade, I, for whatever reason, made like a conscious decision to change the way that I wrote my R's and my A's. So instead of, okay, for an R, I'm going to try to demonstrate. And by the way, if you're listening again, I'm sorry, this just isn't the episode for you. You gotta watch the video. But basically, how I do my R's before I made the switch is I would go down and then I would go up and then make like a little hook. You know, it's like a little kindergarten R. I don't know how else to explain it. But now I just kind of go up and over at a right angle, which I don't know. I don't know why I chose to do that. And instead of doing my A's where it's like, you know, a circle and then a whoop, a circle and then a little tail. Now I go over, circle, tail, I think. I don't know. Basically, I started doing serif A's. I think that's the easiest way that I can explain it. It's like Times New Roman A, that's how I do them now. And I don't know, Comic Sans A is how I did them previously. So I don't know why. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to change the way I write. So all that to say is that I don't think it should be that hard to like consciously change the way I draw, because people really compare your art style with your handwriting a little bit, in that it's sort of innate, but also at the same time moldable, in that you can change it. Like if you tried really hard, you can change your handwriting. And I guess if you tried really hard, you can change your art style, because like people do that. But yeah, I'm just gonna have fun for now. I'm just gonna draw. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna look at the pretty colors, and it's not gonna be online probably for like a while or ever. Who knows? But it is really nice kind of doing that again, and probably won't today because it's literally almost 7:30. I have the time for nothing these days. Honestly, that might have been another contributor for it as well. Just me, just having so little time in the afternoons. Like I'm not in school anymore. I can't just, whip out my sketchbook in class and start drawing again like I used to when I was in high school. Like now I have things to do. So yeah. And on that note, that has been the 11th episode. Oh my gosh, this freaking mic stand. I'm just gonna have to hold it. This has been the 11th episode of the Running My Mouth podcast. Thank you for allowing me to run my mouth. Follow me on Twitter. If you aren't following me on Twitter, you're only getting half the story, and I will never stop saying that because it's legitimately funny. It gives me a laugh. It gives me a hee hee ha ha to say the untucked line about Twitter. So follow me on Twitter, and I will see you in the next one.